124. The board is now reconvening an open session. I'm going to turn it over to the administration.
Put my glasses on. Can y'all hear? Okay, it's on. Good afternoon. When we last met, the board discussed concerns pertaining to Carpenter Elementary and the potential for a sixth year of IR status. While we are hopeful that the results of the current year test scores show improvement, those increases may not be significant enough to garner an acceptable rating by August 2018. Accordingly, the board accepted my recommendation that we devise a Plan B for Carpenter Elementary that would be contingent on the June STAR test scores. Specifically, the board implemented a program change that would reconfigure Carpenter Elementary and its instructional delivery methods for the 17-18 school year. My suggested alternative was that Carpenter would no longer be a pre-K through 5 grade campus. Rather, it would serve students in pre-K, K, and first grade only. Students in grades 2 through 5 would be dispersed to existing elementary schools. The goal would be to return one grade level per year as stability was established until Carpenter returned to a pre-K through 5 configuration. Restructuring Carpenter to remove all testing grades would take it out of IR status, which would improve the overall rating of the school district and eliminate immediate agency intervention. The effect of the board's action in declaring a program change, as explained by our attorney, was to give me the green light to do all that was necessary to implement Plan B in June, should our test scores indicate that we would be going into a sixth-year of IR status. Following the board meeting, I went to work, looking at numbers, talking with our principals, teachers, and transportation. We have since confirmed, however, that the implementation of Plan B would cost the district several critical areas, specifically in relation to the tremendous loss of funding available through a TIPS grant. When I had first talked to TA about all the options that we had to change the Carpenter out of the IR status, I was told at that time that they were going to try to work with us to enable us to keep the TIPS grant money. And after that period of time, I found out we could not. Carpenter Elementary, as it currently exists, is set to receive $3.3 million in federal grant money. Reconfiguring Carpenter will disqualify us for the grant, as I found out later. While I firmly believe that student success is dependent on a solid foundation at the pre-K through 1 level, which our Plan B would have guaranteed, I do not want to lose the $3.3 million that our Carpenter 2 through 5 students desperately need. These are students who have spent their entire educational career at an IR campus. These students will be the direct beneficiaries of the critical dollars. Without the TIPS grant, it will be incumbent upon us to recover or rescue these students using current resources on the campuses that would receive these students under Plan B. So what I am saying to the board today is that while I recognize that restructuring Carpenter to remove all testing grades would take it out of the IR status, which would improve the overall rating of the school district and eliminate immediate agency intervention because it would mean the loss of $3.3 million in federal funding, I do not believe that such a move to be in the best interest of our Carpenter students in grades 2 through 5. It is my recommendation today, therefore, that the board postpone action on the program change and allow Carpenter Elementary to remain a pre-K through 5 campus for the 17-18 school year, regardless of the outcome of student test scores received in June. I have talked with TA, and while they will not tell us what to do or not to do, they have been extremely supportive. They recognize that we know our district best and what is truly best for our students. They want us to make the best decision possible at the local level. If we fail and interventions are necessary in August 2018, I will know that we have seized every opportunity, including the use of $3.3 million TIPS grant, to improve the education of all our Carpenter students, putting those 2 through 5 students in the best position possible for success at the secondary level. I told you last time that if it were left to me to make a local decision, my decision would be to keep Carpenter a pre-K through 5 campus and not disrupt our already struggling students. We face many challenges at NISD and the needs are many. We have a large, diverse, at-risk population of students at Carpenter and the district as a whole. Our students are economically disadvantaged. We have a large population of English language learners. We have special ed needs and are at risk for other reasons. These students all need additional resources and supports. Overall, as a district, our 2nd through 5th grade students don't have mastery of the skills they need to be successful, as proven by our past scores. As these students move into our middle schools, they struggle because they didn't get the essential foundational skills. As they move into our high school with these deficiencies, the impact is even greater. We have limited resources to provide interventions and supports needed to overcome the learning gaps. We need the TIPS grant money to close the gap and to put our children in the best position possible to be successful in the middle school and high school years. The leadership team and I have worked diligently in collaboration with TEA since our last board meeting, and I honestly believe that our current configuration is what is best for the students at Carpenter. I want to say how humbled and proud I am of our faculty and teachers. In addition to our targeted recruiting efforts, we have some veteran teachers choosing to join the team we are building at Carpenter. They're stepping up and asking for this assignment, and for that I say thank you. We will have a strong, impressive team in place for 17-18 to address the issues, face the challenges, and lead Carpenter to success. We believe this decision is in the best interest of the students and team at Carpenter Elementary for Nacogdoches ISD and the Nacogdoches community. I will stand by my recommendation. This plan is the best for students. This plan is the best for Carpenter. This plan is what is best for the district and our community. This plan provides a clear directive and allows us to accept the $3.3 million TIP grants. This plan provides Carpenter the resources needed, and this plan allows us to keep the students and team together. Please know any plan we chose does not come with a guarantee or timeline that TA will not implement interventions. But I believe this plan allows us to make the best local decision for our students at this time. This can't be done quickly, and I stress this. It takes time. I want to stress it takes many years for campuses and districts to recover from situations like the ones we face today. What we are looking for is continued progress and growth, and for our campuses and district to become self-sustaining, as we've discussed before. I want to send a strong, clear message to all of Nacogdoches ISD students, families, teachers, and staff, as well as the Nacogdoches community. We must be a team. It will take all of us working together to improve our district. With collaboration and teamwork, we will succeed. This is fixable. For these reasons, it is my recommendation that the board table all action on the program change implemented at March 28, 2017 meeting of the Board of Trustees, which are all the action items A, B, C under number 4.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board table all action on the program change implemented at the March 28th, 2017 meeting of the Board of Trustees.
I second. And with that, I have some discussion, Mr. President,
Yes.
if you may.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowdy, one of the things that struck me in your presentation there is you talked a lot about the $3.3 million TIPS grant.
Right.
That concerns me a little bit from the standpoint of I want to make sure your recommendation is coming because you truly believe, take the money off the table, that this is in the best interest of those students to maintain them on a consistent campus.
You're correct. That is my decision that I think is best for students.
All right. I know we've talked a lot about that and a lot about consistency, particularly with high-risk students, and I know that is for me personally a very important part of this decision. It's not about anything else
That's correct.
other than what the best decision is for those students.
I would love to restart Carpenter. However, we have had multiple discussions with TEA. And when I listened to all the information given to me by TEA, which includes no assurance that if we changed or didn't change, that they still aren't going to send in intervention or change in the district in some way. When I looked at changing Carpenter for this year, it doesn't mean that TA wouldn't come back in the fall or next year and change them again. To me, that's the worst situation for at-risk students. They need stability and they need structure, and I've preached that since I've been here. However, I did not want also them to come in and take the district, but we've not been given that assurance. I believe using the money, which will provide additional resources to that campus, a dyslexia teacher, an additional social worker for the campus, it will provide for another counselor, which will be 2 counselors at the campus, a community liaison, incentives for teachers to earn extra money for improvement in scores, for summer school for Carpenter, and etc. I think that we can't gain back by just moving the kids to other schools and not having extra money to provide extra services for those students needed. This is taking away from those students. So after I've talked to the district, the TA at length, and I had to sit back and say what is best, from what I believe is best for the districts and for the students at Carpenter at this time, and this is my belief.
We've talked a lot about how long it takes to move a campus out of IR. What is your timeline belief on what the amount of time it's going to take to bring Carpenter out of IR? Give me a number. How many years?
All my years in working, I've always seen whenever a campus, I've never seen it work any other way. Even with the best of the best coming in, I believe that it's the rule of 3, that you have to have it first when you lay in new leadership and you start developing a team on a campus. It takes time to stabilize that campus over the first year. You're also, at the end of that year, going to make changes. You have contracts to deal with. So you can't make changes with staff during that first year. They already have their contracts. So you have to wait that year out to make some of those necessary changes and plan for your team. It just takes a period of a year to at least go through that process. Year 2, when the leadership is in place and has their team in place, they make more gains that second year because they're able to stabilize and have their team in place. The 3rd year, I usually see where where the most gain is made, because if we can stabilize that and we've had a solid curriculum in place, you're going to see the most gain. And I believe it's a rule of 3. I've always gone by that with every campus I've ever worked with.
And the point of that question is to emphasize that we have no misguided intentions here in realizing the challenge that's ahead of us. And that while TEA has indicated to us that it will be essential that we have that campus out of IR and by August of 2018.
Right.
So my concern there then is that is a huge challenge to bite off. I have absolute confidence in you and our leadership team and the teachers, our Dr. Vaughn, our new campus principal, that we can rise to this challenge. What I would ask coming out of that, realizing that this is only the first step in addressing the issues that we have at Carpenter, is number 1, I would like to ensure that we have monthly reports back to this board about Carpenter and the status and improvements that are going on. We've got to be able to closely monitor and ensure that they've got the resources needed on that campus to achieve our goal. Because we're taking, this is high stakes.
It is very high stakes.
And I take the responsibility very seriously as a board member sitting here to say, I believe what is best for those kids, those students, is to stay on that campus. At the same time, we've got to keep momentum, and we've got to keep constant attention on what's happening on that campus. Keep the focus.
We have to, and not let other things deter us.
My second concern and my second request would be that at our next board meeting that we add something to the agenda that would allow this board to discuss appointing a committee to consider a redistricting plan for our district that would ensure equitability among our students across
the district.
I believe that this is going to be vitally important to the success of all of our schools. So I would like to see us commit and at least have a discussion about that at our first available opportunity.
And in my discussion with TEA, I've stressed to them that making this decision and understanding where we might be in August 2018, it would give us a chance to have a period of time, not just a couple of months, to make a long-range vision for the district, such as redistricting, to make it more equitable, and trying to slip lines wherever, but trying to keep it still as stable as possible in doing so, because I think that will help. But with as least movement as possible, but make it as.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. We cannot have one campus
Right.
that has a higher socioeconomic disadvantaged population. All of our campuses should reflect our population. All of our campuses should reflect one another. And I believe equitability is an important issue that's tied directly into the success of all of our campuses.
And when I talked to them, I told them that takes, when you do a redistricting of that nature, it takes months to do because you want to go out to the communities. You have to have time to go to communities and talk. You have to do planning with the district team. And to do it successfully, it takes months to develop. And then you're ready to roll out the plan. So we would be ready at that time if we needed to make a change. I also stated to them that I feel like that if they were to come into the district at any time, that they're going to see that we are making the best decisions for our kids to make the progress necessary, and that in case we will have another plan laid out, ready to go. And I believe anybody they would send in, I don't know what they would do any different, that would be any better for our kids, and that they would take the plan and allow us to move forward. And they may reconsider that. So that's, I think we've got to make as much progress as we can this next year, or certainly try to get out of but make as much progress as possible so that that year of August 18, we're close to or out of, so that they will look at us and say, what else could they do that would be any different?
And my final comment would be that the TEA has what would you say, encouraged us to be bold in our decision-making. I would say to my fellow board members that this is a bold decision, because we're putting the kids first, and we're not taking this challenge lightly. We're taking it very seriously. We know what we're biting off, and we're being very bold and very deliberate.
Right.
I would also add that the grant that we received for Carpenter was a very competitive one.
Yeah.
And we're very privileged to get that, and you wrote a plan for that, outlining a way to address the issues at Carpenter that had merit, and was funded at over $3 million. This is our best path forward for those kids. And to lose that simply to shift things around to avoid a classification is not putting the kids first.
No, and we're not guaranteed that if we did that they still wouldn't.
Right, so
make-
we've got to
so-
put all the resources on the table available to help
Right.
our students
Right.
and putting them first.
And Fredonia has that same grant, so
Right.
that's going to help address their needs as well,
Right.
so.
Ms. Dowdy, I have one other point of clarification, just to make sure it's evident. When we met March 28th, 2017, you had indicated to us that TEA had indicated to you that there were potential sources to replace this grant if we
That's
lost it by
correct.
making the change.
That's correct.
That was as of the 28th of March,
That's correct.
Now, since that time, that has changed, as I understand it, and you're telling us in the community that TEA has come back and said, no, there is no possibility if we made the change
That's right.
to get any additional funds, and we just lose that 3.3.
Right.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Whenever I first talked to TEA regarding the options that were being given to us, they were going to make an attempt to work with the feds so that we could keep the Title I, the TIPS grant as well. Then I found out that was not possible, because if we changed the configuration, the feds would not allow it, and we would lose the grant. In addition, there are supposed to be some fundings that are coming out next year, but that's later on in the year, and they're extremely competitive and with a lower amount of money for the campuses, so we're not guaranteed any of that funds. Plus, I will add that if we change the configuration, it may not reduce our Title I funds, but it affects on how we can use Title I funds. Because you would start over as a new campus. That new campus, Carpenter right now is a school-wide project so that we can use the money for all students the way we want to. We would start over as a new number, so we would have to apply in October as a new campus, which makes it now a targeted assistance campus, which directs and has more strings on how you use the funds. So it affects our funding greatly on that campus for resources that we need desperately for these
Right.
kids, and I feel like we can't give that
It
up.
makes it worse, not better.
Right. So,
Okay, thank you.
That grant was, what was the total amount on that grant for the whole, it's for how many years?
it's for 5 years, it's 3.376 something, I mean, I just rounded off to 3.3, but it's like 3.376. And Fredonia's may be about that or a little bit more, so it's a large chunk of money for our district.
Right.
Over how many years?
Five.
4.5 to 5, yeah. It's actually 4.5.
So per year is about 800,000?
Yeah, but it starts out more and then prorates down, so
Okay.
you can get your staff in and so forth, so. Anybody else?
Question?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of tabling A through C? Does I have a motion? Raise your right hand. All those against? Unanimous.
Thank you.
That's all we have on the agenda. This board, we have now adjourned.